Welcome to today's session on Xero for Beginners. I'm Celeste Peirce and I'm a trainer with Business Edge Advisors, and our co-host today is we've got Clayton online. So welcome, Clayton. Clayton's the Director of Business Edge Advisors. So I just want to get started and get straight in. And this session is really perfect for some of you that may have been using Xero for a little while, or looking at leveling up your application of this particular app so you can get your efficiencies out of it. So did you know that 50% of small businesses fail within the first 5 years of business? And that's a really scary statistic. And this is, these statistics are gathered from different places. And now that everything's always monitored, it's really easy to see for the government to see where those businesses are failing in. And utilising tools such as Xero allows some really great insights to capture across all the users. And 82% of businesses fail due to poor cash flow. So if you're not managing it, or if you're not measuring it, how can you manage it? So that's why it's important that we recommend using cloud-based software in your business. And 85% of Xero small businesses who have worked with a Xero advisor, such as us, are still in business after that 5 years. So you're increasing your chances of success when you work with a Xero certified advisor that can help you out along the way. Make sure that you're leveling up your application of that tool. So Xero's purpose is to make life better for small businesses, their advisors, and communities around the world. And for us, our purpose is to empower people to be accountable and achieve greatness. And that's really important in business, because when you're a business owner, you don't necessarily know everything, but you need to pull in those around you that can help you in certain areas. And we like to think that, or we know that working with our clients, that we assist them along that particular journey in business. And we have different programs that we use to help them achieve their greatness and what it is that they're looking for, because everyone's measure of greatness is different. In business, or as people, we believe that there's 3 freedoms that you're always going to be striving to achieve. The first one being financial freedom, so having the cash flow that you need to do what it is that you want to do in your particular business and deliver that desired lifestyle that you're after. The next one is time freedom, and as startups and small businesses, this can be a really hard one to capture, but utilising tools such as Xero can help you win back some more of your time and get you doing the things that you love, not necessarily the things that you have to do in business. And the third one is mind freedom. As a business owner, there's always a level of stress that you undergo. Sometimes it can be positive stress that drives you forward, and other times it can just be too much to take on in there. So reducing stress levels is really important, and we make sure that we can pick up on that with our clients to make sure that we're assisting them through whatever situations that they might be going through. So it's really important that you build a business that can deliver those 3 freedoms. But those 3 freedoms are not easily encapsulated on your own, and that's why having a team around you to help, such as advisors in there, such as ourselves. So today we promised that we're going to have a look at Xero and go through it, and cover off a bit of a higher level overview, and then going into Xero and how you can use it on your day-to-day activities, the best use of it, and then looking at leveling up if you're not already in some really great functionalities around Xero. So with that, I'm just going to be in the demo company today, having a look, and whatever, you can see the data that's in there, and we will just use it to the best of our ability to get through it. So firstly with Xero, you've got a tool bar up the top. And if you know Xero, if you've used it a little bit, you'll know that you'll always come to this screen first, where it's got your bank accounts listed. and it gives you a little bit of a snapshot of your money in and money out, so that you can quickly have a look to see how it's going. You've got to be mindful though that if you're not reconciled, obviously the data that's showing on your screen is not completely accurate. So that's where we'll go through some reconciliation and why it's important and how that information is feeding you as a business owner on the information you need before you make some key decisions. There's also on the dashboard, there are some watch lists that you can create. There's all different types of things in here that you can add. Depends on your business and what's important to you. Some use paying bills through Xero, and others just use their credit card. But it just depends on your business and what you want to be watching on your dashboard. And to make any amendments to that is that you just click on the edit dashboard down the bottom, and you can move things around the way that you want to see it and what works for you as a business owner. Then moving across the toolbar is business. So in this one, so when you're doing something within your organization, you're paying bills, you've got to send some invoices, maybe you've got a team and you've got some expense claims that you need to add. This is the menu that you go to. You can have a look at, you've got your invoices there and quotes, and we'll have a quick look at that and how you can turn quotes into invoices. And it's a really great option, especially if you do a lot of quotes and you just want to convert them straight into invoices for those quotes that are won. And in doing that, you can really work out what your conversion rate is. So if you're doing 5 quotes and only winning one of them, or you're winning one of them, depending on your business, that might be a great statistic that you might want to measure so that you can work out what the difference is. Why is it that you're winning 1 out of 5? I won't go too much into that. And then you've got bills to pay. So if you're putting your bills through in Xero in preparation to pay them later, any purchase orders that you may have in there, etc. The next menu is under accounting. So when you're looking in the accounting menu, it's when you're looking at running some reports. Maybe you've got your BAS to do, your activity statement, something to do with maybe your bank accounts with the setup in that space. And then obviously down the bottom is some more advanced items there that usually we encourage our clients that we can sort of see when they're ready to learn about those items, and we'll help them understand those particular functionalities of Xero. But we encourage you to seek out your certified Xero advisor in learning how to use the chart and the find and recode, etc. in that menu. The next menu is payroll, which is really important, obviously, if you have a team that you are running through payroll. In that, the first bit is, loading all your employee data. So when you onboard a new employee, there's a lot of data in accordance with Fair Work that you need to gather. And it's that information that is all collated and placed into this particular space for your employees that's relevant to running your payroll. And then when you're actually running your payroll, it's just going to those pay employees. So it's quite intuitive Xero in what am I about to do? I'm going to run payroll. What do I want to do? I'm going to pay my employee. So it's quite intuitive on the menus on what to click on. You've got an option there for leave, timesheets if you've got rostered members in your business, if you're using timesheets. And this one here, which is super important if you have employees, is superannuation, and the functionality that Xero has in actually acting as your clearinghouse and assisting you in your superannuation payments on that quarterly or after every single pay run. You can link it up to pay your super. So that's a really fabulous functionality, because in this day and time, paying super is super important for our employees. It always has been, but there's that added level of the ATOs making sure that employers are doing the right thing by their employees with technology these days. There's the option there for single touch payroll. You should only ever have to go into that once when you're setting up your payroll to send the data to the ATO. And obviously there's some other features here that came on board when COVID, the pandemic hit, and the different functionality around those JobKeeper requirements and JobMaker. So Xero made it really easy for businesses that had updated information within their Xero files so that they could get the information they needed to qualify for different grant funding that was available to them. The other option here is Xero projects. So in that space, I'm not going to discuss Xero projects today because that's more specialised for those businesses that are utilising this particular function. But the last one is those contacts. So that's where you're putting all your suppliers or your different customers in there. And it's a really great, if you don't have a CRM, sophisticated CRM system, that's okay, because you can hold that data within this space of Xero. And, you know, it might be a really great use in the first few years of business before you decide that you need to use that information to maybe, you know, utilise within a CRM system. A CRM is a client relationship management software or application. Is that right, Clayton? Excellent. So that's a bit of a brief overview. The last one I just want to have a look at is this particular menu. So when you're using Xero, your menu will look a little bit different. Obviously, being as Xero certified advisors, we have a different access. But in essence, these two items here are the same. So your files being where you can upload your receipts and different settings. So first of all, let's go in and have a quick look at our settings and what that looks like for you. So when we're going into settings, it means we're sort of going into the back end of Xero, and we're looking at some key things we might only visit once or twice, maybe just during the setup or maybe periodically to make sure that we're happy with the information that we've set in our templates or different areas. So your organisation details, you know, having your website and your phone number and, you know, just different basic information, because whatever's within this space, it's going to draw it into your invoicing, etc. Users. So when you're looking at maybe you've got a new team member, you might want to add a user. It could be that you're working with a Xero certified advisor, so you've got to invite them. So utilising this particular functionality of inviting them to your Xero file so they can assist you. You've got currencies if needed, different apps that you might have connected with your Xero file, because there are so many out there, and the app marketplace is a great place to have a look and see within your industry what everyone's using. What are they signing up to? What are they using to solve problems that they might have in their business? And then we're looking at our invoice settings. So within this one, you might find that in your business, you might be happy with your invoices, but there are different bits of information in there. So maybe you've added, changed a bank account. Maybe you've added a payment gateway. Maybe your terms have changed. Maybe you're not going to wait 30 days for someone to pay you once you've done them a service. Maybe you want them to pay up front before, or 50%. So this is a great place to be able to go into your templates and do an edit on them, and, you know, changing what it is that you need to change or updating. Could be that you've got new logos, etc. So most that are using Xero or have been using it for some time would have set this up in the beginning. May not quite remember where to go and what to do, but this is the space to have a look.
I think it's really powerful, Celeste, with the invoices when they use alternating ones, when you can change between them, because sometimes you're sending different terms to different customers as well.
Yes, yeah, some suppliers want certain things on their particular invoices, so you can set up different standard templates that you can utilize within your business. So you can, you know, create a new one by clicking on that, and you just label the template as to what you want it to call. If you're, say, in the trades industry, you might have, like I said, a certain supplier, so you might call it that template for that particular supplier and what they're looking for. There's also default settings that you can have a look at in there. So if you're new to Xero and you want to start at 1, or do you want to start at 100? So how is your invoicing system working? You know, what do you want to call your invoices at the start? You might be INV, or you might be something, an acronym for your business. There's lots of little settings in here that you can use to level up, you know, getting paid faster, obviously, without having to, if you haven't gone as far as adding a payment gateway on your invoices. So this is the payment services, which is always a good thing to have. I don't think this is going to. Yeah, so there's different payment services that you can add in on Xero, so that if you recall, if you've got an invoice from someone and you've opened the invoice on your phone and it's got a pay now button, this is what they're talking about, getting paid faster. Really important that if your accounts receivable, so if people aren't paying you quick enough, that maybe this is something you need to look at, is a payment gateway, so that when they get your invoices, they're hitting it and they're paying you straight away as needed. Because sometimes if we don't have that and it's a bank transfer or they've got a ring to pay, it's just another barrier of getting paid from your customers. Just head back to those invoice settings. And then of course you've got your invoice reminders. So you can set it up that you've sent your invoice out, and you might want to send out those reminders the day before or 7 days before, etc. So you can set them up to send out, and you can then have a look at what those templates look like and word it so that it's applicable to you and your business, not just necessarily generic. Add a little bit of you into your invoices. So I'll just head back to those settings again. And then you've got also those payment services. So there's another way to get in there to add a payment gateway. Email settings is important. So whatever other emails you might be sending from Xero, that you can utilize this particular functionality in here. So making sure that you've got where you're sending the emails. Do you want them to come back to your accounts email account or your personal email account? You know, wherever you want to direct it, you can make sure you can go into Xero and you can work out those templates and email addresses as to where you want it to go. Because quite often there's something that may have been happening in Xero and you just go, oh, that's so annoying, but you just don't know how to fix it. And that's where, working with the certified advisor, you can contact us and we can assist you on where to go and how to change that within Xero. And if we don't know, we've got a great network that we lean on to get the answers. Payroll settings is really important. When you're employing a team, it's really important that you get assistance in setting up the payroll correctly. But in a brief overview, you've got these different items here. These ones here are all default settings within Xero. You've got different employee groups you can add, timesheet categories, just depending on your business and what you might need. You've got your payroll calendars. So you might have a group that you pay weekly or monthly or fortnightly. It depends on your team. Obviously, as a business owner, you want to make it quite seamless. So paying everyone the same way is usually recommended, but it just depends on the industry. You've got holidays in here as well. So you might want to do something on your setup of your holiday. So maybe you're in an area with a different type of public holiday that you need to add in. You can go in here and do it. And your pay items. So having these set up so that you can pay your clients, your team members accordingly with their overtimes, you know, what they're set at, whether there's public holiday rates, and obviously your ordinary earnings. So this is that back end space where you look into that. And then the last piece is adding those superannuation funds for your team members. So that's just in your payroll settings. So there's different things such as expenses, 0 to 0, automation, and then there's some other advanced settings in the back. One of the main ones utilised is financial settings by us, so that if you become GST registered, we need to obviously update Xero to reflect that, so that you can start capturing GST, making sure that you're reporting correctly with the ATO, etc. But there's obviously a range of different items in here that if you wanted to have a look around and see and then ask questions of your advisor as to whether or not these different functions are going to fit for me. So now I just want to go back to the dashboard. We've looked at the back end of Xero now and how all of that is feeding into what you're going to be doing directly day to day in your business. So on a daily basis, it's great if you can actually jump into Xero, but the reality is day to day might actually be week to week for some business owners. But it just depends on how you operate. A great thing to start with is obviously your bank reconciliation and jumping in there. And when you're doing your bank reconciliation, you can see here a lot of these items are matching in the demo company here. But there's also other things that might reoccur on a weekly basis. But there's no rules being set. You can see here, this isn't actually a rule. This is just the what's the term that I'm looking for here, Clayton?
System.
Yeah, AI just being able to pick up on what it thinks that you're doing, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's right. So make sure that you are checking things off, making sure it's correct. And there's rules. So if they're utilizing 7-Eleven all the time, they've created a rule so that it gets charted correctly. So how do you create rules? So if you just go options and you're going to create a bank rule from the actual transaction is the easiest way to do it. It's important that when you're creating bank rules that you've got, it could be any, so either of these ones, and then making sure that you need to make it broad enough that it's going to capture what you want, but narrow enough that it's not going to capture everything. So sometimes you might want to just add it contains in that. That number is probably unique to a transaction, so you're going to get rid of that. You know, who is it that you're working with? Who's the customer here, or the supplier that you're paying? You know, where's this one particular going? So is it which chart does it go to in there? So it just depends on what you set up. So say maybe it's advertising in this space. If you're using tracking indicators, there's space there to match it as well. Any descriptors that you want to add in, and then labeling those rules. So once you hit save, it's just automatically saving that particular rule, and there you can see how it's been set up there. We do a lot of videos for our clients when we can go into their Xero file and actually see what it is that they could actually use as rules to assist them to make sure that they know how to set them up and understand the efficiency of having those particular rules in there. And it's about the consistency of that reconciliation of where it's going. The other item is when you're doing your reconciliation, it's really great if you can also upload those receipts or invoices that you may need. So in that space, you can hit the view details. So you've got a bank rule there, but you can still add more details instead of just clicking through. And this little icon here is really important to upload. So you can click on here and it takes to your file. So you can upload something that's on your computer. So maybe you've got a receipt there, or you can take a photo and upload it from your library, depending on how you're receiving your files. So we'll go a little bit into that shortly. And then add any other details you might specifically want to add in on the actual reconciliation of this particular one. So I'll just hit cancel on that. So we always encourage clients to make sure that they are adding those invoices, receipts, etc. to their bank reconciliations, because when it comes to us asking questions, if we've got that there, it usually answers the question that we already have. Other items that within your dashboard that you might utilize, you might have a look at your bank statements, or you might look at account transactions. Just if you're searching for something, if you're not sure where you've coded it before, you might say, go to account transactions and have a search for smart agency, so that you can see, well, where is this getting coded to? How is it being utilized?
Really like that they utilize the discuss button as well, Celeste.
Yes, absolutely. So a lot of the times our clients might be new on Xero and they might just hit that discuss button and just ask some questions on there, like, not sure what this is for. And then we can then see it, and we can go in here and then we can answer those questions for them so they can reconcile it themselves, so that they can then either create a rule or work out, just have a better understanding of how they're spending their money and how it affects the business. The other one is that reconciliation report. So if you're in your Xero file and maybe you're doing your activity statement, so your BAS for the quarter, it's really great to pull this reconciliation report to make sure that everything is balancing out. And I'm not going to go into it today as to how all of it necessarily works, but in a snapshot, you've got some payments that you've said that say someone's paid and you've said they're paid, but it hasn't actually matched to the bank account yet. And that could be because all these items here haven't been reconciled. And the idea is that once you've reconciled everything, that down the bottom that it's all matching and that there isn't anything on this particular screen because you've reconciled everything and all the bills have matched. All right, so that's in essence our dashboard. So now if we have a quick look at our business applications, been looking at our sales overview, I'll go to first. So in our sales overview, this is just giving you a snapshot on your business as to where you're sitting. You can see that this business here in the demo company has got quite a large outstanding overdue, so accounts receivable funds sitting there. So, what have they got set up to collect those? They've got to over 25K awaiting payment, and they've got 2,200 sitting in draft and a few waiting approval. So, from here, what is it that you're going to do? It could be that you are looking at doing some quoting. So you can go into your quotes. That you may need to create a new quote, or you're in there. So I'll just show you how the functionality of the quote works. So fine. Call it NAB. So say this quote expires in a few days' time. What's the reference? So the reference, you could utilize the quote number. It could be, if you're a tradie, it could be the address that you're quoting from, etc. So it could be so you're putting in the description, what it is, how much it is, what chart it is going to. Obviously, it's a sale here that I'm talking about if I was using tracking indicators. So if I was to send that quote to them. So in the customer setup, we haven't got an address for this particular customer. So you'd have to put one in there. I'll just put mine in there. And you can see it's got that's a template email on the quotes, and you can have your terms on there as to what they are, etc. So I'll just wait for this one to send, and then I'll show you the next step, which is super, super easy. So that quote's gone out, and the client can either click on it and accept the quote electronically, and you'll get notified. It'll go to the accepted or declined space. And from there, you can then take action. Or you might get a phone call from the client and might say, yep, I accept it. But they might want to change some particular terms, but they're in essence, they're happy to accept it. So if you go into your quote again, and you've got your options here, so you can mark it as accepted if the client doesn't want to do it electronically, so you've got to go in there and do it. You could obviously edit it and then accept it as well. But what this is doing, this is saving you time. So you can just create an invoice directly from the quote. So you don't have to redo it all up again. Even if there's little changes, you can still go in here before you authorize and approve this particular invoice now. So there might be some other items that you might need to add in there, such as maybe there's a freight cost. Whatever that might be that you want to add in there for the quote that you're now changing over to be an invoice. So you might leave the reference as the quote, or you might change it to the now the invoice date, etc. You can add notes down the bottom. You can approve it. You can attach any documentation. So maybe you've got some terms that you add, or a brochure or something like that that you want to add to your invoices once they've been sent. So And then because the address for the customer, because I put that email address in there, it's already going to go. If there's an online payment gateway, you can see here in the demo company, it says here that it's got a PayPal set up. So that's what it's going to look like. So a really great way of getting quotes to invoices and then getting them sent out so that you can then obviously get paid faster, schedule the work, etc.
The audit log down the bottom?
Yeah, so down the bottom, you've got the opportunity to have a look at what's been going on with this particular quote to invoice. So you can see here the different actions that I've just taken here. So it's come from a quote, then it's been approved, and then we've created that particular invoice of it.
It'll also say when it's sent, when the clients opened it and viewed it online and things like that. So it's a very good part of the tool to use. If someone says, oh, I didn't get the email, and then you can look in there and go, well, it says you viewed it, then kind of question.
Yeah. Yeah, or if there's something wrong, you can see, yeah, definitely I need to fix something in that particular space. And as with Xero, it always gives you a bit of an itemized list of what it is that you've got going on. And this is that space where Clayton said you can see that those ones have been sent. And you can see here that these invoices here have not been necessarily have been sent, or at least they're not marked as being sent. In that paid space, this is going to bring up all of those paid invoices in there. Draft. So you can create, so maybe you don't use quoting, but you can create invoices in draft, and then you can, approve them so that they can go out. There's also a great tool here, which is like your repeating invoices. So maybe you have invoices, maybe people subscribe to you and you've got repeating invoices that you send out, and you want it sent out every month or what it is, etc. So just skip that item. So in this particular, in the demo company, there's nothing being set up, but how you set it up is, how often do you want it to repeat? What date do you want it to start on? So maybe we want to send something starting on the 1st of every month. When is it due? Could be due on what date of this following month? Could be due on the 2nd. How long do you want it to go for? Is it a 12-month plan that they're doing, so that you're going to change it to be 12 months from there? So you've got 12 repeating invoices to go to. But where do you want them to go? Do you just want them to go to draft, or do you want to approve them straight away, or approve for sending, so that every month it just automatically gets sent out to your clients that are on that monthly subscription? Maybe it's a weekly thing for 12 weeks or something. You can do all that on Xero, and then it's just a matter of drafting up the information that you need on your invoice. So really helpful with a lot of clients in different industries. And obviously you've got notes here that you can add on. You might also want to attach the contract or different things to those repeating invoices. It could be that they're paying you rent. Who knows what it is that you do in your particular business, but it's a great functionality that you can utilize. And you can go in at any time and you can update it to grab the information that you might need to add in there. What else have we got here? So clicking on awaiting approval. So that's, when you've drafted it and you may, or it's an invoice, sorry, a quote that's come across to invoicing, go in and have a look and take the action that you need to on them. Credit notes can also be used. So maybe with supplier, they didn't send you everything that you paid for. You might want to add a credit note to that particular supplier. So maybe you're in credit $100 or something like that. So you can, create those credit notes so that you can keep track of when you're in credit with different suppliers. So great functionality there. Or what else we've got here? You've got sending statements. We don't encourage statements because usually if someone's utilizing your services or purchasing from you, that that they should be paying either upfront or on time when needed. But it depends on your business and how you operate. If you're changing from a different system, you can import a lot of your different invoices. So if you're just changing over to Xero, and obviously you can export the lists as well. So maybe you run some reports and you have some key performance indicators that you measure, so that you can have a itemized list of what's outstanding, what's awaiting payment, etc. Depends on what you're trying to achieve. And you can set your invoice reminders on or off. So remember in the back end under invoices, you can set up how often you want them set up, but you can actually turn them off in this particular space. So now let's have a quick look at our purchase orders. So we'll go to our purchase overview. So you've got a great toolbar here again to have a look at to see who's overdue, awaiting payment. Maybe there's some in draft that you haven't quite approved these bills. So you can go in and you can have a look at all of your bills. So usually you just want to go straight into your overpayment to work out, which ones have you got to pay. And you can go in and, pay those bills. So maybe you go in monthly and pay them. Maybe it's on the first of every month you pay all your bills, etc. So you're going in here and, you can see what it is outstanding so that, you can have a look and go, well, for cash flow purposes, I've got that money in the bank so I can pay all my my bills out there. Or it might be that you've got a lesser amount than that you might need to prioritize which bills need to be paid first. So Xero can assist you in doing that really easily. If you were to create a new bill, then there's different ways that you can create bills. You can create it manually by clicking on new bill, or you can actually get your bills that are sent to you via email. You can email them into Xero. So you just copy this particular email address, and you then, if you've say got a Telstra bill on an email, on a PDF, you then forward it onto this email address and it will show up in that draft space of your bills. So it'll have the picture attached to it, so you can go into it and have a look. So for this particular one, there's no images attached. But if you wanted to attach an image to a bill, so it's always a great idea that if you're paying a bill that you've got a copy of what it is that you've purchased. So maybe it's your Telstra bill, maybe it's your power bills, etc. Just so that you can have that data there. It's there for the end of financial year, so that we can make sure that we're capturing everything correctly during your taxation times, etc. So some businesses use this particular function in bills and some don't. Some pay as they get them, but it's a really great way of managing your cash flow and being able to preempt, what you need in, 30 days out, etc. If you've got those terms on some of your bills that you have. If you need to create another credit note in there, so from some of your suppliers, you can put those ones in there. If you needed to import some bills or export. And there's obviously repeating bills that you might have. So a repeating bill could be as simple as having your rent that you've got to pay if you're in bricks and mortar, that you have that set up as a repeating bill that matches every time to those particular payments. Anything else you wanted to add in on bills, Clayton?
I think if people pay them outside of Xero and aren't utilising bills in that sense, try and keep out of them and just send the files elsewhere. Yes.
Yep. That's a great one. And that's a good lead in to have a look at where to send them to. So in that, if you go up to your organization and if you go into files, and if you're not utilizing files, I highly encourage you to, because if you're not sure on something or where you put it, if you've saved it into your Xero files, it's going to make life so much easier. And Xero allows you to upload a lot of different documentation. I've never seen anyone maxed out on their storage space, but you can put all sorts of things in here. So you might want to put in your insurance documents. So you can just create a folder called insurance, and then you can upload your folders and your files and put it in there. So how do you upload your files? You click on that, or you can click and drag and drop it in there. There's all sorts of ways of uploading those particular files. If you're using the Xero app, you can also go onto your Xero app and you can take photos. So like one that I did earlier was I just took a photo of a Woolies receipt, and it's got everything that we need on there, the GST, what it was purchased for. So it just assists you and us in making sure that we're clear on what it is you're doing and where these expenses as such are coming from and where they should be charted to. So if you're not utilizing Xero files and uploading your receipts, I encourage you to give it a go. A lot of tradies have their partners doing their bookwork for them, So having those photos on that app straight away that they can see, and then they can reconcile it correctly to where it needs to go. It just makes things a lot differently, and I suppose diffuses a lot of arguments over when you're trying to get a copy of those receipts. The other way you can upload into Xero files is by this email address. So if you copy that email address, you can send in any photos, etc., into the Xero file space, and then move it accordingly. It could be that those insurance documents are emailed in here, and then you're moving them across into the appropriate folder that you want to put them in, which is just as simple as that. Yep.
If people want to level up, you can create an auto forwarder in your email so that when invoices and things come in, they just auto forward into that space.
Yeah, which is really a really great way of being able to do it. What else have we got in here that I wanted to have a look at? So maybe in your business, you might be selling your services. It might be the same price and service every time, so it's repeatable. So you can create those products and services within Xero. You can see here that, you know, they've got here a bit of stock that they're selling. Usually a lot of businesses that sell stock have a point of sale system that they use to feed into Xero. But sometimes when you're starting out, you might just want to create a few products and services within Xero itself and utilize them just to get a feel for what that looks like. If you want to measure, you know, how many of these, say, golf balls white single that you're selling, so that you have an idea. It's a great place to start in business when you want to make it a little bit easier to create those invoices and quotes. So now let's have a quick head over to the accounting space and looking at the reports. The report screen recently upgraded. And it's really great tool to go through and star your favorite reports, because when you go to this toolbar, you'll see that your favorite reports have just that quick access to go through. A lot of the reports we utilize are up here in our favorites, you know, looking at your profit and loss, but these reports are only as good as your reconciliation. So if you've reconciled everything, it's going to give you some good, accurate data. Your activity statement, obviously you're going to go into that quarterly at least, or you might just want to go, well, at the end of this month, I just want to know what I'm owing currently at the moment in my BAS. So you might want to go in and have a look at your activity statement. So if I just jump into your activity statement here. So obviously this is the demo company. So, you know, what you're reporting on, you know, if you're doing wages, etc., in the setup space. And you can see here that Xero allows you to connect your activity statements with the ATO, and we can assist you in helping you to set up that so that you can complete your BAS directly within Xero and send it through to the ATO. So it's as quick as obviously running your reports, making sure that you've done all the numbers are correct within your business, finalizing those reports, and then if you're connected to the ATO, it's just clicking a button and certifying it to go directly to the ATO. So you can take care of your own lodgements, but it just depends if you know how to obviously run all the reports that you need to make sure you're checking things before you submit it to the ATO. What else was I going to show you in this particular one? Let me see. Another one with our reports. So if I just go into my profit and loss report, there might be a custom report that you are modifying your reports every single time, every month that you're running them, but you can actually create some custom reports there. So if you go down to your edit layout, if you're already customizing different things on it, it could be that your dates that you might want to label it. It might be that it's, months to date. It could be all different things that you're modifying within here that you might want to move around, etc. So you might want these ones at the top. You might want the report just to look that little bit different. So you can go in and make those modifications and save it and add columns. And that's like a whole different aspect of learning of how to modify those reports in there in Xero, and that we quite often run different things in there. So just got to try and get out. And we offer assistance in different training that we do on how to run your reports and which ones are the best going to be suited to your particular business. And if you wanted to save this, you can then save it as a custom report, and you can call it whatever you like. So you might want to call it monthly or something like that because you've saved a template. I do not encourage you to make it the custom report as the default. Always leave the Xero reports as the default, but save that. And then when you go into your reports menu, you can see the custom reports that you've built, and then you just go in and utilize that. And you might want to star it so that it's on your quick access toolbar to utilize. So if I go accounting, and I can see my profit and loss monthly is now showing. So it's a really great tool to utilize. And there's obviously other reports in there, published reports. So maybe with your accountant, that they're publishing the reports for you so that you can go through and have a look at your financials from the year before, etc. So hopefully when they're publishing those, they're publishing them with you so that you've got a record of them and a place to go to have a look at your financials. Just in this particular space down the bottom here of accounting, like your chart and your find and recode. So these different functionalities, we encourage you to seek out assistance from your certified advisor when you're starting to utilize these areas. The clients that we work with, we can tell when they're ready just to learn that little bit more and different functionality within their business that they may need knowledge on. So we'll assist them through training on teaching them how to use those functions. Payroll is obviously super important. So if you go into your employees space, we'll have a quick look there. So you can add all of your employees in here. So you can do bulk updates, bulk uploads of new employees, create new ones here. When you're doing your STP finalization at the end of the financial year, this is the space that you can go to do that. Any payment summaries that you may want to send out to your team members. I'll just quickly go in here to one of our employees here in the demo company, and I just want to touch on what happens when you are offboarding a employee. So if you click on the employment tab, because all the information is being added in here, you'll notice that there's now an area here for options where you can set a termination date if, say, they're being terminated from work. So it's important that we set that termination date so that we can pay out any leave that's owing to them and just offboard them from your organisation correctly within Xero. So your records are up to date. The other item is that, say, maybe Odette is a new employee with you and you want to send them an invite to Xero Meet. This is the space that you're going to do that. Or maybe you've made an error and you need to delete the employee because you should never have had them loaded. You can do that. I'm not going to go through all of the different setups in here, but it's the functionality in here is fantastic. You've got, it's going to work out what leave they're accruing when you're running your payroll, and it's just going to be accessible for them under that Xero Me app to see what it is that they've got. Any leave applications that they're putting in are all recorded in here as well. So it's a really great platform to be running your payroll off. I'll just go to when you've got your employees and you're going to pay them, you're going to head into pay runs. And in here, there's an itemized list of all the different pay runs that you've ran to your employees. When your organisation is set up correctly with payroll, you'll note that it'll be green here and say file. So that's that single touch payroll filing that goes directly to the ATO. And you can create draft pay runs. So you can run a payroll this week and then draft next week's ready to go, etc. And go in and change different functionalities as you need to. If you've got timesheets, you can utilize timesheets. I just want to touch on superannuation. I'll see what's set up in the demo company. So once you've run your payroll, it could be as simple as clicking on that superannuation and running it in here. So it doesn't automatically happen. You still have to go in and run it within Xero, but it's just 2 simple clicks to be able to do that once you've got it set up. With the automatic super, Xero's subscription you have to increase, so it's about $20 a month extra to be able to do auto super. But with super, we highly encourage our organisations that have employees to make sure that they have auto super set up, or make sure they've got a really good process in place to pay their superannuation, because you do not want to fall behind in paying super, because the ATO in this day and age have the ability to see when things aren't matching at their end in single touch payroll, and be able to really focus on those employers that aren't doing the right thing. And sometimes it could be that you've just paid late a couple of days by an error, but there are ways that there are certain things that you need to do then to submit to the ATO to let them know that that's happened. But to avoid that, having automatic super set up within Xero is a lifesaver for many, to make sure they're paying it on time. In payroll, you'll also see there's some other functions here that these came about from the pandemic, so they're not really utilised as much now. But when JobKeeper and JobMaker were introduced, these types of innovations within Xero were really fantastic for employers that were utilising Xero to be able to make some really quick decisions on their applications on what they're doing. All right, and I think I'll wrap it up there, Clayton, because we've been going for some time.